Okay, let's just dive right in. We're unpacking a really fascinating framework for personal wealth. We're looking at the strategies of a guy named Tom. Now, Tom is a 34-year-old math genius, but he's not your typical numbers guy who just stares at cold spreadsheets and rigid formulas all day. He's actually got this profound love for poetry and politics. And what's wild is how he brings all of these totally opposite worlds together to build a meticulously structured approach to personal finance. Today, we're going to completely break down his philosophy. We'll look at how he seamlessly blends the cold, hard, uncompromising logic of math with the deep, resilient soul of a poet. It's a method that fundamentally changes how we look at our daily salaries, the real purpose of side hustles, and the ultimate pursuit of financial freedom. Now, to really understand Tom's strategies, we have to start with his motivation. And it's all anchored by a simple two-word directive: stop surviving. This isn't just some catchy slogan for his brand, Finance and Riches. It is a mission forged through some truly profound, devastating tragedies. Tom has suffered unimaginable personal losses in his life. He lost both of his parents at a very young age, and even more heartbreaking, he's lost 2 children. He's never been married, though he does currently have a girlfriend, and his entire drive to help his audience build wealth is deeply rooted in this incredibly painful history. He knows firsthand just how fragile life can be. His mission to help others achieve financial freedom is, at its core, a mission to help people build an impenetrable fortress against the unpredictable. The goal is to literally stop merely surviving the blows life deals you and to start proactively securing yourself against them.
Section 1. The Soul of a Poet. Genius and Emotion. Tom's entire approach rests on this really fascinating duality. On one side of his strategy, we have his identity as a mathematical genius. This is exactly where the precision, the logic, and the mechanics of scaling wealth actually come from. It's the analytical engine driving the whole vehicle, right? But then, on the other side, we have the soul of a poet. This represents the resilience, the raw emotional drive, and this deep-seated, unwavering need to provide absolute security for the people he cares about. In Tom's world, you absolutely have to have both to succeed. Think about it. Math without emotion? It just lacks the necessary drive to persevere. When the market crashes or a business venture fails, cold logic alone isn't going to get you out of bed in the morning. It usually just leads straight to burnout. But on the flip side, emotion without math is incredibly dangerous. It's just dreaming without a blueprint, which often leads to poor, impulsive investments and an inability to actually scale your efforts. By combining these two distinct lenses, Tom creates a framework that is mathematically sound but emotionally unbreakable.
Section 2. Escaping the political cage. The limits of a fixed income.
So, let's talk about the first major roadblock in Tom's framework, the inherent limitations of a standard salary. Remember earlier I mentioned Tom loves politics? Well, he studies it intently, and because of that, he recognizes the traditional 9-to-5 structure for what it really often is, a political cage. A fixed income comes with hard mathematical limits. You have a capped earning potential, you are bound by highly rigid corporate structures, and maybe worst of all, your financial trajectory, like your next raise or promotion, is largely reliant on navigating complex office politics rather than being judged purely on your actual output or genuine value. Mathematically speaking, a salary is a fixed equation that practically guarantees your wealth cannot scale exponentially. It keeps you securely locked in that survival mode Tom is so desperate to help us escape. I mean, you can only physically work so many hours in a week, right? And your employer is only ever going to authorize a certain percentage for a raise. If your value is entirely tied to an hourly wage or a fixed yearly salary, you are fundamentally capped by the 24 hours in a day.
Section 3. The Infinite Variable. Breaking the Limits.
Okay, so if a standard salary is a fixed mathematical equation, how on earth do you break it? Well, you have to introduce an infinite variable. This is Tom's really unique strategic definition of a side hustle, and it is brilliant in its absolute simplicity. Instead of viewing a side hustle as just, a casual way to make a few extra bucks on the weekend to pay for groceries, he defines it mathematically as the singular piece of your wealth equation that does not possess a ceiling. It is an asset fundamentally decoupled from your time. If you work one single hour creating something and 1,000 people can buy the result of that 1 hour, boom, you've successfully broken the mathematical cage of an hourly wage. It completely shatters the limits of the traditional 9-to-5, allowing for totally scalable, uncapped wealth. Your primary salary might pay your baseline bills and keep the lights on, but make no mistake, it is the infinite variable that scales your freedom.
Section 4. Content creation as a multiplier. Amplifying reach.
Now, Tom advocates for a very specific tactical progression to actually put this math into practice. Step 1. You must start that side hustle to introduce your infinite variable into the equation. You need that initial, foundational seed that operates completely outside the political cage of your day job. Step 2 is where the absolute magic happens. You amplify your reach and revenue through content creation. Tom views the modern landscape of the internet not merely as a place to scroll and be entertained, but as the ultimate mathematical multiplier. Why? Because of algorithms and digital leverage. Content creation allows your side hustle to reach a global scale without a proportional increase in your own manual labor. A single video or article can reach 10 people or 10 million people for the exact same amount of initial effort. That is massive digital leverage with near zero marginal cost of reproduction. And finally, step 3. You take the capital generated by that infinite variable and you aggressively lock it away. You secure that newly generated wealth in compounding stocks, tangible property, and savings. You basically transition your focus from generating wealth to preserving and protecting it.
When you visualize the difference between these two paths, the contrast is absolutely staggering. On one side, you've got your fixed salary. It hits a hard, impenetrable ceiling. No matter how hard you work, no matter how many extra hours you put in, your earning potential is only going so high because of those rigid corporate structures and office politics we talked about earlier. But then, look at the alternative. This is the finance and riches model in full effect. You have your secure base salary, sure, but then you stack on the infinite variable of a side hustle, which is powerfully multiplied by content creation and heavily backed by the compounding force of long-term investments. That potential is entirely uncapped. It literally shoots right off the chart. This mathematical reality is exactly why relying solely on one fixed income stream is so incredibly dangerous in Tom's eyes. It leaves you highly vulnerable.
Section 5. How to stop surviving. Building resilience.
I want you to think back to Tom's history for a second. The devastating loss of his parents, the heartbreaking loss of his children, his life right now, building a future with his girlfriend. For Tom, and ultimately for all of us, the goal of this entire financial architecture, the strategic side hustles, the algorithmic content creation, the compounding stocks, the tangible property, it isn't about blind greed. It's not about buying luxury cars. It is a strictly necessary act of resilience. Life is incredibly unpredictable, and severe tragedy can strike absolutely anyone at any time, totally without warning. Building multiple income streams is exactly how you construct a robust, fail-safe safety net for yourself and the people you love. Financial independence is the ultimate defense mechanism against an uncertain world. It ensures that when life gets unimaginably hard, when tragedy does strike, you aren't simultaneously panicking about how to keep a roof over your head or put food on the table. It gives you the actual space to grieve, to recover, and to eventually rebuild.
Which leaves us with this final, absolutely crucial thought. We've explored how Tom uses the flawless precision of a mathematician and the deeply resilient soul of a poet to systematically break out of the traditional political cage. We've seen exactly how strategic side hustles and digital content creation act as an infinite variable to exponentially scale wealth, and how locking that into investments provides the ultimate resilience to protect the whole shebang. So looking really closely at your own life and your own financial structure right now, are you actively building your infinite variable, or are you just surviving? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.